Oh, that's not great, no. Oh, Aaron called me. Did she call me? Oh. I.
Okay, I think we're ready to go when you are, Tony.
Okay, this is the November 2nd special meeting of the Planning Commission for the town of Hideout. Now being called to order. First thing we'll do is take a roll call. Glynis?
Here.
Jonathan?
Here.
Donna?
Here.
Rachel?
Here.
Joel?
Here.
Peter? And Tony is here. Okay, there are two things on the agenda tonight. The MDA for the Bloom project and a rezoning. And Polly, correct me if I'm wrong, we can actually roll the rezoning into the MDA pursuant to the new statute with the state as of May.
So not exactly, but I just kind of stumbled upon that as a possibility. And so let's continue with the rezone as a separate document as well. But I'm looking into whether or not we can have the rezone be part of the MDA.
Okay, then let me ask you a question. If we grant the rezone, can we make that pursuant to the town council accepting the MDA so we don't have to go back and address it again?
I mean, it will be the rezone, right? It's a separate ordinance that you have. So I think the council knows you can say you want the rezone to be conditioned upon the MDA being approved. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
And then Polly, just for clarification, if we're able to do more research into that when it gets to town council, if rather than having a separate and independent rezone, if we are able to wrap it into the MDA, they can do so at that time, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And they've expressed an interest, you know, that's been a concern that they've also said, you know, of making sure that this rezone is tied to the MDA.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, thank you. That being said, the first thing we'll address tonight is the MDA. I believe all the members of the commission have gotten a copy of the latest and greatest MDA and had a chance to review it. Does anybody have any questions or comments that they would like to raise at this time?
I have a couple of questions, if we could.
Go right ahead, Jonathan.
Right. Excuse me. With respect to section 2.9, the second sentence. Well, Alicia, catch up to me here so everybody can see what I'm talking about.
Alicia, this will be on roughly page 13 of the packet. You can keep going down. Yep.
0.9. There we go. So my question is, with respect to the second sentence, all such units shall be subject to provisions of the HMC. Shouldn't that read HMC as amended? And is that something that would be agreeable to the applicants?
The HMC currently has some short-term rental language in it with regard to it's got some very standard language into it because of the short-term rentals at Claim and Deer Springs Phase 1. So it's kind of just perfunctory language in our ordinance right now.
You can do that. So the idea, I think, what Commissioner Gunn is asking is if the short-term rental code is changed, that they would have to abide by any additional restrictions,
if
that
we
type of
add
thing.
additional language for the short-term rentals. Oh yeah, because we have a very little amount of language in there for short-term rentals now, which is what it references. Yeah, but okay, that makes sense if amended.
Is that
So-
what you're asking, Commissioner Gunn?
I would suggest that we say something along the lines of provisions of the HMC as amended from time to time.
Oh, sure. So if we do add additional language to the short-term rental ordinance, yeah, that makes sense.
And is that something that the applicants are comfortable with?
I think the only caveat we would want there is that, and I think we can finesse this language, but I don't want there to be a get out of jail free card here where another iteration of the town council can say, we don't want to see nightly rentals, so we're just going to make them so onerous through the code that even where we've approved them previously, they now no longer apply. So, we're going to say short-term rental has to be more than 60 days or something, So I think we can come up with some language. I've done this in the past and other provisions that say, the code continues to apply, but I don't think the right to have nightly rentals itself should be limited through the code.
And that's not the intent. It's just that if in the future, so the intent of this is to allow nightly rentals in the MDA, and it would just be if there were other restrictions that would apply to the few other places that do allow nightly rentals. So I'm sure, Justin, you and I can come up with some language that's works for both of us.
Yeah, I think we can. So I'm fine with as amended from time to time, but we may need to add another clause that says something along the lines of, but in no event shall an amendment to the HMC code as it applies to nightly rentals in any way impair the ability of the community to be used as a recreational nightly rental community, meaning that, nightly rentals of 2 days, et cetera, shall be allowed. Something along those lines, so that it's clear that that can't be impinged.
I would agree with you. I just simply say something like shall not be, unreasonably impinged. Every regulation impinges on something, but
Sure.
Yeah, we don't want it to be inconsistent with the intent of nightly rentals.
Yes, exactly. I'm okay. I'm okay with it with that caveat. I have not had a chance to talk with my clients about that, and we're unfortunately not in the same. I'm in Arizona, and I think Jenny's in Mesquite and Ryan's in Utah, so we'll have to circle up. But I am on board generally with that concept.
Fair enough. And then section 210. I'm a little confused here. So, and that's not saying much, so because it happens so often. Is the intent under 210 that 30% of each structure, no more than 30% of each structure can be flat, or that 30% of the structures in total can be flat? And I just want to understand where we're going here, because to me it reads either way.
I'm going to answer that and refer to Thomas, because this question was brought up on the last planning commission meeting and Thomas answered it then. And then if you have further questions for us, we'll answer.
How about, Jenny, before you mute, I think that the way this is written, I'm not so sure it gives you what you were looking for. And so that's why we have this note in here. This essentially says that 30% of, let me rephrase this question. This essentially, I'm not sure if this is 30% of each of the roofs or 30% of the
Okay, so
roofs.
it's just
So would you
legal
want an
language.
entire
Yeah.
roof to be flat?
What we've talked about at the PC meeting, last meeting, was that the town code is already 30% of roofs of a structure can be flat. That's already the
Right.
town code, so it doesn't need to
That's
be
right.
in here. And we talked about last meeting that in here is 30% of the roofs in the development could be flat. That's how I heard you explain it last meeting in front of all of us. Is that what
That's
it's meant?
correct. I just want to make sure that if your intent is to get, say, 30% of the roofs, 3 out of 10 roofs would be
Maximum. It
completely
doesn't
flat.
need to be, but that would be the most that could be, is how I
So
understood.
so those 3 of 10 roofs would be 100% flat. They wouldn't, is what you want, right? Because I think we need to finesse this to give you what you want.
Yeah, that would be great if the wording could be finessed to be the essence. So
Okay,
that,
planning commission's
Well-
comfortable with that. I think we have to finesse this because this kind of reads the way the ordinance reads, which is 30% of a roof can be flat. But
thanks,
if
Kenneth, for bringing that up.
if you want a full roof flat, we need to amend it a little bit.
Yeah. And a
Okay,
maximum. It's not, we don't want to require that amount.
got
Yeah.
it.
Then my last point would be in Exhibit C.
Sorry, this is hard.
And that would be the phasing exhibit.
Did I pass it? I don't think so.
I think you were there, Alicia. Go back up to where you were, and I think it's that highlighted section in that table
That one.
right there.
And where I'm going here is that there is some wording that says that the commercial, there'll be commercial pads instead of, as I believe we've agreed that there'll be certain commercial structures for phase 1A. And I just want the exhibit TA.
Can you go up, Alicia? I think he's talking about up higher. It's right here on phase 1 at the bottom. It says commercial pads. So he's asking for that wording there to say match below. It's
Right,
just,
so in other words, instead of commercial pads, could we call that commercial structures?
perfect. Just to match.
And then Jonathan and Jenny, so you're aware, then that would match the table, but that table was changed below to say commercial structures.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear I was not aware the table was changed, but it looks like the essence. So I just want everyone to be aware that this MDA did not come from Ryan and I. This came, and we have questions on it as well. This is not our MDA that we submitted to get voted on. This was sent to us today. And we have questions as well that we would like to ask about. And I did not notice that. So can we go down and have a look at that just to make sure?
What does it allow you? What does it allow you to do?
So Jenny, the way this was amended is the dates essentially stayed the same, but what was in there prior to this amendment, where you see commercial phase 1A and commercial phase 1B,
Yep.
above that was commercial phase 1A and commercial phase 1B, and it said commercial pad to be developed in.
Yeah, I had 4 lines there. We had commercial pad, and then we had commercial vertical. We'd separated them. So it looks like you've put them together as one project for us.
Put them together, but kept the timeline the same. So you
Same.
could do the pad and then do the structure on top of it, but just condensed it so it was a little bit easier to read.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, but the dates are the same and the timelines are the
Yeah,
same.
did you do it down the bottom on phase 3 as well?
Oh, maybe I did not. Hang on. We can
My
make
only point here is I want to make sure, because the language of the MDA does say.
Oh,
that-
sorry, maybe it's 4 or 5. 5, sorry, Thomas, phase 5. Sorry, Jonathan, just making sure.
Don't worry.
The pad is 4A and the vertical there just needs to be
we
updated
can
to
match
match.
this language.
Perfect, thank you.
The the language of the MDA does say that for the first commercial space, there will be vertical construction, including the walls, the roof, and the systems. And I just want to make sure that the exhibit is consistent with the language so that we don't have any ambiguities.
That's great. So Jonathan, do you see in phase 5, it's a little bit separate. Thomas is going to clean that up to match.
I'll match it, but keep the dates the same.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I think that's all the questions I have for a moment. Thank you.
Do any of the other commissioners have any other questions?
I was wondering about the roads. I noticed, there was a comment about, who was gonna be managing the roads. And what
So,
roads were public and what roads were private. I'm not sure that.
so right now, the way this MDA is presented is that the applicant is proposing a PID, a public infrastructure district. And we don't have a lot of detailed information with regard to a PID. The town of Hideout hasn't done a PID. And so it looks like that a PID would require some dedication because it is a public infrastructure district, some dedication to the town. So some of the roads that we thought would be HOA maintained would end up going to the town. In the last exhibit, I think it's exhibit G, we have, it's exhibit F. We have a public-private road map. All of the roads would go to the town, be dedicated to the town, with the exception of the roads in the cabin area. This is something that we'll have to work with the town council on as well, because the ownership of the roads is going to be a big deal to them because maintenance is certainly costly. And so Jenny's aware of that, and the town council and the EDC, the Economic Development Commission, are actually looking to create some language that would kind of set the parameters for how a PID is set up, because right now we don't have that language. But to answer your question, it does look like, as currently presented, a number of the roads would go to the town, be dedicated to the town for maintenance.
Okay,
Polly-
so that's basically a TBD item for town council.
That's correct. We put a note in there that we think that
Okay.
it needs to be discussed at length with town council.
Okay, thank you.
Polly, could you possibly give a quick description of what a PID is for the members of the commission who might not be aware of it?
Sure. So as I understand it, it is a way basically to raise funds and finance infrastructure within a development. And it requires approval of the council, and it has been used quite a bit within the state of Utah, is my understanding. There are actually lawyers that all they do is PID documents, kind of like bond documents. And if it's within the PID, it does have to be it has to be for public use, so it can't be for private roads. But what it does is, and then it puts an assessment basically on everyone's tax bill who buys into it, and I guess it would be to the developer initially, to start paying back. So it's a way to kind of get a loan for the infrastructure.
And so basically then the only people who will be on, for lack of a better term, on the hook for payment of the bond is the people that buy into the Bloom project, not the rest of the town.
Correct. And it's
Okay.
not a bond, but it's I don't know what they call it, to be honest, but yes, it's that same concept.
Okay.
And just for clarification, it looks like Mr. Greg Minor put a link in chat to the Public Infrastructure District Act in the Utah State Statute, on the Utah State Statute website, if people really want to dig into the details. Thanks for that.
And Tony, just for awareness, it may not be called a PID, but Soaring Hawk has an infrastructure payment that you pay on your tax bill every year, and then Sky Ridge also has the same type of thing. So it's very common, just even in this area.
No, thank you, Ryan.
Those are a bit different, but yes, this was created in 2019, and
I believe I said that, right?
yeah, I just want to be
Yes.
clear because,
I think I was.
okay. I'm agreeing with you, Ryan.
I have a question. I had vaguely sent this to Thomas, but in talking about the green space and the amphitheater from earlier discussions, my understanding was that there was going to be created sort of an area where people could park on the green space. And do we have that area like marked out? How's it going to be? Is it going to be grass? And then the other thing is, is there actually a connection for walking to get to the amphitheater from there? It's not real clear to me.
Thanks, Rachel. So we actually moved the amphitheater into the commercial space so that people didn't have to go through their residential buildings to get there. And the idea there would be public transportation, parking, and trails leading to the amphitheater. We have not talked anymore about parking on the area there, but it's flat, and we could be happy to discuss that now of how you want to feel good about that. Yeah.
I mean, my concern would be that there's not enough parking in the commercial area in order to accommodate the.
It's a 300 person amphitheater. It's not thousands of people, and it's this was in the concept approval portion, but let us know how we can help relieve that, if that needs to be added into the MDA, if that's what you're suggesting. Happy here to help work with you on that fear as well.
And Jenny, if I'm correct,
Yeah.
I think that right now, the way you have the amphitheater set up is that there are trails from that commercial parking lot up to the amphitheater, which is much closer to the commercial development right now, right?
Yeah, you can't see my mouse, but whoever's controlling the screen, the amphitheater is in the red portion at the bottom. It's a green pad there at the top corner of that red
Right
portion.
there.
Yeah.
That's,
And you
and
can see that
parking
the
is right below that at about 5
parking is
o'clock.
right next to it. Yeah.
And Rachel, we also our intent with this was to make this community oriented, which is why we reduced the size from the very first edition, kind of when we got feedback from the community. And you can see with the trail system, we have trails that go up to Golden Eagle. We have trails that will come down and you'll be able to cross the road from Hideout. So this is something to be used in the summertime or warmer months. Our desire would be that people walk, they hike, they e-bike to get there. There will be parking in the commercial since, this will be more probably weekends and evenings. Not all the commercial will be used during those times. You'll have maybe a coffee shop or breakfast place that won't be utilizing parking spaces in the evening. So with the natural flow of the businesses that will be there with, more than ample parking for the hotel and all the commercial, we feel that with all that together, parking shouldn't be a big issue.
And I think, Ryan, yeah, your intent, what you're explaining is basically shared parking during the off hours for the amphitheater, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Rachel,
very similar. It'd be very similar to what happens right now at the amphitheater at New Park. We have a shared parking analysis there that we used in reducing the parking requirements for New Park. And the New Park Hotel, the commercial, the amphitheater, and the residences all use the same surface parking. But because they use them at different times, they have different peak times, it's a much lower parking requirement required for that, exactly as Ryan has explained. You have a concert in the park on a Friday night, but at that time the offices, the commercial, all that are not in their peak times, and so the parking is available.
And Rachel, if it's a good thing, if the amphitheater becomes so popular with the community, that's what we want, right? We want everyone to embrace it. And then we find that there's parking we are here to help with a solution. Luckily, we have that natural preserve space there, and I hear we're all in agreement that it could be utilized as parking if that ended up being so popular and a problem. So I'm not sure how to make you feel good about that. You just let us know that the goal is this is a easy community, not a frustrated community. And we're sure over the years as it gets developed, we're all going to have to problem solve together. So yeah, that's where I stand on it. I'm not sure how to solve it though. Like solve your.
Jenny, Ryan, I have a question, I guess in regards to the amphitheater, and I'm
Yeah.
looking on my screen. Thomas, you've noted that a monetary contribution placeholder, and I know that's something that'll be discussed with the town. I know early on, we talked about putting in a tunnel under 248. We talked about putting a bridge over 248. What would you feel about donating that amphitheater land to the town and letting the town use that for, you know, their needs or whatever the town wants to do with it? And I'm not
My gut, Joel, is if the town doesn't want the roads, why do they want the amphitheater?
If we don't, what do you mean if we don't want the roads?
Well,
we're getting pushback on the town taking care of roads. I'm just saying, I don't know.
They have something else to take care of. Well, I don't think Joel. So Joel, that's a great point. Where we had left this off, if someone wants to go to that section in the MDA, the monetary contribution, is we left off that you guys are recommending that the town council talk monetary contribution. At the last oops, I'm hearing echo. Sorry. At the last planning commission, we gave several different examples of a monetary contribution. Sure. This can be added as something, as an idea.
Yeah, it's just, Jenny, it's just a thought. Instead of giving the town hard cash, it's donating. And, you know, we can always use land and figure out a way. Maybe we have our own concerts on it. I don't know. It's just.
I mean, I love land versus money because money is, so we're totally open to that thought. But I just want Joel to feel heard because I'm not sure if it's more something that I think the town council should reach out and ask you guys, hey, we're going to talk monetary. I mean, they should reach out to the public. What does the public want this on? I feel like that voice is great. And Ryan and I are open to what the best solution is on that.
Yeah. And I'm not saying give us land. I'm just bringing it up, something to consider down the road.
Yeah, that's the first time I've heard it. So thank you. It's creative.
No, like, was it the diamond chest?
I had a quick question for Jenny and Ryan. Back on that map, the map that we just saw, that the road past the amphitheater, is it, I may have missed it from the previous meeting, but will that go somewhere?
Oh, yeah. So right now, the entrance and secondary entrance, the requirement is that middle line through.
Okay.
When we were talking to, I believe it was Ryan Taylor and Thomas very early on, they wanted us to stub something to the right-hand side. So if there was potentially ever a development over there, there'd be a way in and out. So if you go to the right, you see that. Right. And on the left-hand side, we put an easement to the Solzman's property, just so there was a secondary access for them to get out if they needed to. So originally that was up by the cul-de-sac and we just put it down there. So there's no plan for that to do anything, but it's just stubbing to each property on the side, left and right.
Okay. So that isn't the existing, that's not the existing road there, the driveway. That's nowhere near there, correct?
Yep, correct. But you see there is a vision cast and we've worked with the engineer to work out that it can connect to the driveway, which is where it sort of stops.
All right. Thank you.
Jenny, I have a question for you. In section 2.5.1, where it says, um, the full service dining establishment shall be constructed within the hotel or in a commercial space located near the hotel, as long as the dining establishment is constructed prior to the hotel or within 6 months. I would like to see that knocked down to 3 months. Are you guys amenable to that?
I'd like to bring this up because this was added after our last planning commission meeting. So I haven't had the open conversation with everyone. Ryan and I agreed to change the wording to 3-star hotel, and that if it wasn't that it would go to town council. They, on their discretion, they could approve it. We then got back these requirements. We sent that to a potential interested hotel party, and it originally said it had to be at the same time. That obviously we can't control it if there are two different people. So we asked to have it before or within 6 months. We are not really that comfortable with this, but we allowed it because we want to work with you. We also heard really loud and clear when we went to the town council, and we've also heard from planning commission meetings that they want a hotel, or they want facilities here that they can afford to go to and their friends can afford to go to. The more we put restrictions and require us to get a luxury hotel, the more we're creating we're not listening to what the planning commission people and several people in the town council said, that they don't want it to be too exclusive. So it's a fine balance on trying to hear what's being said and do it. So we would really like to keep it at 6 months. We'd actually love this removed, but we're fine to have it because it does say that if there is something that comes to us that we believe is good for the town, that the town council can approve it without this requirement. So we're fine with this, but we would really prefer not to do 3 months and just give 6 months in there.
Well, my only concern is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're talking about a restaurant structure outside of the hotel proper. So if the hotel comes online and if it's not a full service restaurant, where else are these people gonna go? Especially if they're here in the winter and there's a storm or something,
But saying that the hotel can't open without that is what I'm hearing. And so it's like, I get that these people, we feel sorry for them, they can't eat, but I just, as a developer, and the timing to restrict a hotel from opening and bringing the town sales tax within a 3-month period.
And I mean, we are talking 3 months, so it's not a lot, but I think, Tony, a hotel opening will be only beneficial for a restaurant and a restaurant wanting to go there with, a town of 350 residents. It's a lot of work to get the commercial up and running, which is what we're starting to put together now. If a hotel says, oh, you're not going to be done with the restaurant in time, we're not going to start building. It seems like we're going to put so much regulations in little things, levers here and there, that people will be like, I just don't want to take the risk.
Hi, dragons. Okay, I'm coming.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
And Tony, I hope you're hearing we want the same thing, and thank you for bringing that up. I feel like
I'm coming in.
We want everyone happy to be able to eat. We just are cautious of too many restrictions to market and attract Hideout to their first ever hotel 10 miles from the ski resort. But we are allowing the town in this wording to be the ones to approve who we can market to versus stopping having options before we can even get it in front of you guys is what we're trying to do.
Okay. Thank you, Jen. Do any of the other commissioners have any other questions or
Yes,
comments they would like to make?
I have one last question, if I could. I noticed that in the phasing plan, so Alicia, if you could scroll down to that. In the phasing plan, if I'm reading this correctly, the commercial structure for the first pad, for the first area in phase 1A, doesn't have to be completed until the fall of 2026. And I'm wondering if there's any room there to pull that back a little bit sooner. My thinking is if there's no structure, it's going to be harder to attract a commercial tenant. And we all, I think you included, want to see commercial tenants in there. So I'm wondering if there's any room to move that up even a little bit.
So we, I hope you guys are feeling the essence that we would love commercial open as soon as it can get open. This number is purely on sitting down and working through the timelines of builds around this area's seasons. And so right now that date is off the most logical build if we were prioritizing commercial being up and running. So to just give you all an example on that, if we can get through these approvals and get started with infrastructure as soon as winter ends next year, 2024, infrastructure is roads, digging, pipes, sewer, all of that stuff. It takes time to get the commercial pad up. Let's say everything runs as planned and we start the commercial pads at the end of 2024, then you go through winter, then you're not starting the build of vertical until middle spring of 2025. To do vertical, there's building permits, plans, all of that stuff. So at a great rate, we're getting the vertical up in 12 months from that, which is middle of 2026. So fall of 2026 just gives us a little breathing room, but it's not, if we can get it up in the middle of 2026, we would love to. But that's how that date was. The intention is to do it right and set expectations right. So I hope you're hearing that we are prioritizing commercial. We do really want you to feel like you're heard with that date.
But what I'm hearing is not really, not a lot of room to move. Would that be fair?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from any of the commissioners? Okay, being none, I believe Jenny and Ryan, you guys had some questions in regard to this document?
Yeah. So we have looked through at really high level. We are good with 90% of everything. There's just 3 questions that we have. So I am going to try find those and tell you which ones to go to. Okay. So if you go to section 3.5.4.
I'm fine.
Alicia, do you mind going up to the section 3.5.4?
You don't really practice it? I'm fine. I'm here.
This looks like boilerplate language. We've had this MDA for 5 months. And so to get this today, we haven't had a chance to look at it, talk to our lawyer about it. We just love to ask that we discuss this and come to a agreement on wording with this outside of what the planning commission is recommending.
Yeah, and let me just jump in. This was kind of my bad in terms of we have been working together closely with Ryan and Jenny, and I've been gone for the last 2.5 weeks and had some suggestions and didn't realize that they were off, not available today to give us feedback. And so I would, there are some things that are new, and I would recommend that some things we should talk about this offline. And but we just kind of wanted to move this forward and have everything in there so that we could start. So this is not on those guys at all. This is, they are just seeing this for the first time. A few things that I added in, and we can clean that up or talk about that moving forward.
Great, thanks, Polly. I just want everyone to not think that we've agreed to something that we haven't. So if we're just aligned that we're open to the discussion, we just would like to have the discussion, and everyone has been great when we've discussed us. So I just want that. So there's that one. So thank you. If we can put that as a discussion point that we will work out together.
So Polly, that could be something that is almost like a conditional. If the planning commission made a recommendation, that could be almost a conditional approval to say, or say it's a positive recommendation to re-examine the language there, give them some time to work with their attorney Justin on that language.
Right. That they could give a positive recommendation with the understanding that there's some new language which will be worked through before going to council.
Great, thanks. Okay, the next one is 5.5. I think you just said the same thing. This is just wording that we would like to, but I'll just talk about the essence so everyone can understand what we're going to be talking about. The yellow portion, number 1, that we have sufficient water rights for the phase. Great. Number 2, Jordanelle Special Service District has sufficient water supply. So the intent is that we have sufficient water supply at JSSD. If we just want it worded, it feels like this is worded that JSSD could have an accounting error and they may not have sufficient water supply. Anyway, I just would like us to work on that wording. The essence is, I think, what we agree on, but again, if we can just work on that wording, that would be great.
Is it your intent to basically say that, look, we won't begin a phase until we've delivered sufficient water to JSSD? Is that the intent of this?
Yes, and what I'm worried about is if with the water problems with other areas, that if JSSD says they don't have sufficient water rights, but we actually have our water in there and we have enough and we can show that we have enough, we don't want other problems to stop us if we have enough in there proof to you. So it's just a little wording thing.
I'm gonna go back and see if there's any back over there.
What would happen if you, for example, present a deed for the appropriate amount of water to JSSD and you deeded that water over and JSSD says they don't have it? What would happen then? I'm trying to understand where we're going with this paragraph.
Yeah, I think JSSD need to say they have it. But I guess I'm saying if I think we're agreeing. I just want to make sure Polly and Justin with the wording.
Yeah, and I think that my understanding is that we are all on the same page. They're gonna show that they have the water and commit the water before they can start a phase. And I think we're both in agreement that that's what it is. So we will make sure that the language reflects that accurately.
Yeah, and this language I just haven't had a chance to talk to our lawyer about it. So I just wanted to bring it up. There's people smarter than me to work on this.
We can tighten this up. I think Jenny's concern is, if JSSD has some issues itself elsewhere, right, and there's inadequate water, we don't want their inadequacy in other regards or in other locations to be an issue. under the DA's plain language, if we have enough water through Jordan Mills Special Service District and they're indicating that they can provide water for our project. But we can tighten this language up. I think it was new today. We haven't had a chance to talk about it, and one of those things we can work on.
Okay, and then the last one is 5.6. We just would like to know who on the planning commission brought up this new requirement.
And we can table that one. We need to talk about it. That was something that was communicated to me, not from the planning commission, but from somewhere else. And so why don't we just put a note that this is not to be included unless discussed further, something like that.
That would be great.
Those were our points, correct, Jenny?
Yeah, those are our points, and I do just want to acknowledge that a lot of you haven't seen behind the scenes, but we've been really impressed with everyone's input on this, and thank you.
Polly, I have a question. The last item that they raised, can we leave that in subject to negotiation with the town council?
Sure, and they're not bound to it. They haven't agreed to it, so just recognize that.
Yeah.
Can we ask Justin? I would prefer to not even have that in, just so you know how we read it. It's saying that at any time the town can go on this piece of land, dig a well without us knowing anywhere, and have all the access to those water shares, which is millions of dollars. So I'm not comfortable at all having this on there no one has spoken to us about it. No one has explained it, just appeared today. I haven't had a chance to talk to our lawyer. It's so vague. No one on the planning commission asked for it. So I'm not sure why it should be in here. It feels like it's gone around the planning commission. It feels like it's popped in right before.
Jenny, I think Tony was just asking that it be discussed with the town council.
Yeah,
I don't want it in there.
Not in there, but to be discussed and to be reworded and or discussed.
to be
I'm happy to
with town
discuss
council.
it. Yeah, I just don't want it in the MDA that you guys recommend. I don't think it comes from any of you.
No, I'm not saying that we recommend it. I'm just saying that it's left in there to be further discussed and to be further discussed with the town council.
I think we put this in the category of the amphitheater comment earlier or the monetary contribution. We've got this footnote here that it's something that's been raised. We're happy to talk about it with the town council. To Jenny's point, we're just making clear, I think, on the record for the planning commission here that it's not a condition of approval today. Rather, it's just a bookmark for a conversation with the town council.
It's a parking lot item. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, seeing that there are no more questions from the commission and or Jenny and Ryan, we'll open this up now for public comment. Alicia, I'm just gonna have to ask you to call out the people because I don't have I'm on my phone and not on a laptop. So
Okay, we've got Brett.
all right. The only thing we ask is that you state your name and address before your comment, please.
This is Brett Rutter. I'm a resident in Glistening Ridge in Hideout, full-time resident. With respect to the comments about the timing of the retail, restaurants, and hotel, was that in regards? I think this is a question maybe for Jenny. A question, and then I have a follow-up. Was that in regards to an in-hotel restaurant or the other commercial space restaurants that you had in the concept drawings?
Yeah, so thank you for asking, Brett. So there is, in the zoning, we have a hotel, 120 keys, 60 rooms. Now, searching for different hotel partners, some hotels will have a restaurant and some won't. And so what the planning commission was saying was that they would like to have a hotel either in the hotel or in the commercial development when a hotel opens. So it's just saying if the hotel we recruit and attract here doesn't have a restaurant, then there will be a restaurant very close by in commercial. That's what it's saying. The hotel may have a restaurant, and that would eliminate that requirement.
Okay. So what I was hearing earlier, and again, correct me if I'm not understanding the concept correctly, it sounded like you feel that the hotel is needed before the commercial space and restaurant could be pushed. Is that correct? Did I understand you correctly?
No, I feel like
Okay.
what was given to us was that the restaurant had to come at the exact same time as the hotel. And so we wrote back the restaurant can come earlier, or
Okay.
within 6 months. We are very excited for commercial. Commercial could be first before the hotel is up. Yeah, is that helpful?
Yeah, I think so. Because I was thinking from earlier calls that I've listened to and presentations that you have put forward, which have been really good. It seemed that the restaurants that you're trying to attract would not be of such an exclusivity that may price out locals to go there, multiple times a week. And it wasn't making sense to me when I was thinking I heard that the restaurant would not be viable or other commercial would not be viable until there was a hotel. So I think it would be great to have that before the hotel.
Yes, yeah. And I think what Ryan was saying was that to not limit the hotel's not allowed to open. We didn't want the hotel not to be able to open because it only helps us. Like if we are having trouble getting a restaurant, opening the hotel will only help us. So let's not stop something.
Correct.
Depending on what the current market is. So I think that's
correct. In fact, I would think requesting the commercial and restaurants before the hotel as soon as possible would be even the better way, because nobody locally is going to stay in the hotel, but everybody locally or many locally are probably going to dine at the restaurants and use some of the commercial.
Right.
And I think that would be the quickest way. Hotels always take time to build a client base, especially in resort towns. Years ago, we stayed here when a new property opened and it was greatly discounted. And so the tax base and everything is greatly discounted to build that seasonal recurring people. So I would encourage the Planning Commission to push forward the recommendation to actually have the retail and restaurants as quickly as possible, regardless of the hotel property itself. So that's all I have. Thanks.
And Brett, you're correct. And I feel like, based on what a hotel wants, the commercial only complements what they need, whereas we can have a lot of different businesses that complement the hotel. So there's a lot of synergy with it going hand in hand. So the commercial could definitely happen before the hotel or a little bit before it.
Okay, we've got Jim Gruber.
Okay, Mr. Gruber.
Hello, my name's Jim Gruber. I live at 452 East Overlook Loop. I just want to tell everyone that I've been watching this for close to a year now, and I'm just amazed at how you guys have processed this. And I just want to thank the planning committee for watching out for the best interest of all of us. And I also want to thank Jenny and Ryan for working with the planning committee and sticking with this. I think you've all done a great job, and I just want to acknowledge that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have Patricia Bidwell.
Okay, Patricia, your question, please.
I was
I'm Patricia Bidwell, and I'm a lot owner. The address is 1962 Purchase Drive in Golden Eagle. And well, I have a lot of respect for all the issues that Hideout has to face and the process of building a town. And like Jim, would like to thank the people who have dedicated their time. I have a long history in business, small business, and development. And I am very confused with how the town works. Are there any protocols for how this process is supposed to proceed? Because it seems to me, I don't have the time, unfortunately, to attend all the meetings, but I can go back to the YouTube, but there's often so many questions that are asked over again and over again. Are the protocols that you should look at maybe what has been discussed before so things aren't repeated? Are there requirements in terms of experience? It seems to me that sometimes there's a lot of questions about, when can something be, written in an MDA when it's pure logic that if someone's going to build a certain kind of development, they would rather have their projects up and running sooner than later. The timeframes are to give them exceptions, and exceptions are usually because of or often because of might be weather or catastrophe, but often bureaucracy. So I know you're a small town, and I applaud your efforts, but I would really like to better understand the process.
Who's going to answer? Paula, do you want to take a stab at that?
Go ahead, Paula.
I mean, I guess we have a public process. We post the agendas and the staff reports before the meetings. And I think that that's the best way to stay informed.
Is there a way to make it more transparent and efficient at times?
Well, you can read the minutes afterwards, but
yeah, that's what I'm commenting on, the minutes that repeat.
I think that's the best way to communicate publicly is through the minutes. We appreciate your call and being here. I think if you want to be even more involved, there may be some positions coming open on the planning commission. So I would urge you to get involved in the town. If you want to have even more information, that would be my suggestion. We follow the protocol that's mandated to follow. It is a lot. I totally understand where you're coming from. It's a lot to read and try to understand if you're not at all the meetings, but the best way to get all the information is to be a participant.
Right. And you know what? And I plan on doing that. I've had my struggles with trying to get a building permit and become a resident of Hideout. So when that gets resolved, I do plan on getting more involved, and that would certainly relieve some of the questions. But in the meantime, there are those of us who are very eager to move into Hideout and want to help, but cannot because we can't live there yet. So that's all.
I would add that this is an enormously large and complicated project. There are lots and lots of moving parts here. There have been changes throughout the process that this has been jiggled, that's been jiggled, and all of that requires a time to sit down and analyze, think about. I can tell you, I have personally been involved in numerous lengthy, informal kind of discussions with the developers. They have come forward since the last version or the last draft of this MDA. It has come forward light years. And so I think it's such a large and complicated process, This is not like building a house. There are literally going to be 100 some structures here, and some commercial, some residential, a hotel. It's a big, complicated project, and I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I've spent an enormous amount of time trying to understand it, try to move this forward, try to shape this in a way that I think benefits the town, and all of that takes time. There are towns, I can tell you, that in this state where this process would be well over a year and a half. And yet we've managed to get to this point in a whole lot less. And while there's always room for improvement, I can tell you that the reason why this hasn't gone as quickly as some may hope is that it is complicated and it does change from time to time. And there are lots of people and expertise involved.
I appreciate that. I do. And I totally respect that your time is volunteer. But why are you having a meeting when the MDA got presented 24 hours before in front of Jenny and Ryan? So that you have to spend time on things that, that are critical, but they just seen for the first time.
Well, I would say it's because it's a special meeting and we're trying to move this along at their request, at our request. So some of this stuff does appear to be last minute, and we're doing that to try to get a solution for everybody involved. We could have waited another couple of weeks and done it at our regular meeting. We would have had our evenings off, but we chose to have this special meeting. So some of this stuff we are just talking through as you hear, as you've listened first time tonight. So, and I think it's going really well. I think we're all pretty much in agreement on everything. And I think we're going to have a vote tonight. Not sure, but I hope we do.
Thank you so much for your time.
Sure, thank you.
Patricia, I have a suggestion for you. I know on the website, the town website, and Thomas, correct me, what it's called. Is it called the we used to call it, where I came from, the comprehensive plan? I think it's called the general plan.
The general
here.
plan. That's right.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's a map for how the town wants to develop. And I think that would be a good place to start.
Yeah, I hope you understand, since I bought the property in 2020, I have been fully researching what the town has available. And still there are a lot of questions and areas that aren't being answered. But I will look again.
I would invite you to call the town and ask if you have
I have been on record calling and asking, so just for the record, I have 3 letters unanswered to Mayor Rubin, certified receipt return requested letters. I have been communicating with the town.
Well, I can't speak to those. I haven't seen them.
Right. Of course you haven't.
All right. Are there any other questions from the public in regard to the master development agreement for Bloom? Okay, there being none, we will close the public comment portion of this. Now, Polly, should we, do you recommend we vote on this and then go to the rezoning, or should we just address the rezoning and then vote on?
Yeah, why? Well, I think you've discussed the rezoning at the last meeting, right? I wasn't there, but as long as you can vote on this and then go to the rezoning, sure.
Okay, thank you. That being said, would anyone like to make a recommendation to the commission from the commission?
I would like to recommend that we give a conditional approval based on the changes requested for 2.9. I may have missed one in between. The roads to be determined by town council, public/private roads to be determined by town council. 3.5.4 to be discussed by town council. 5.5, the water wording to be made to everyone's approval. And 5.6 not to be included until discussed further. Did I catch them all?
I would add to that, the subject to mutually agreeable language for the issues we have discussed tonight. That way we don't miss any of them.
Very good.
I would second that.
Okay, so then we'll put it to a vote. Glynis,
Yes.
Jonathan,
I like the development. Obviously, details matter, but subject to the, mutually agreeable language for the issues we've discussed tonight. This MDA has come a long way since I first saw it, and that's probably due to the efforts of everybody involved. And so, as a result of that, I'm going to say yes.
okay, Donna,
Oh. I need to make sure she's.
I'm here.
Oh,
Yes,
she is.
I
Sorry.
didn't hear my name. I'm sorry.
okay, Rachel,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
and Tony's yes. Thank you all. Jenny, good, and Ryan, good luck with the town council.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for your time in the special meeting tonight. It's very appreciated by us.
Okay, the second item on the agenda is the rezoning of the Bloom property. Thomas, do you want to just give a quick recap of that for everybody's benefit, please?
Yes, I can do that. So again, as everybody probably remembers pretty well, this proposal is for a rezoning that would, let me just go to my section here, for a rezoning that would look to address changes to the 72 acres that are on the east side of this overall development. The proposal would be for some neighborhood mixed use development. That would be for the commercial area where the hotel and commercial are proposed. Residential 3 for the proposed 12 single family detached units. Residential R6, residential 6 for the proposed 84 townhomes and the 53 cabins, and then a natural preservation zone for the open space parkland and amphitheater. The current zoning is mountain residential, and so this would be a proposed rezone that would allow for some increased densities and some mixed use development within this proposed 72 acres. You guys have reviewed this before and understand that the proposed development would also include about 30 to 35,000 square feet of neighborhood commercial, 8 multifamily units that would be top the commercial development in the neighborhood mixed use development, the boutique hotel, which would be 60 units and 120 keys with lockout units, 53 cabins, 84 townhomes, and the 12 single family lots. I think based on the discussion tonight, the recommendation would be for that rezone. It sounds like based on Chairman Matizik's recommendation that if that could be incorporated into the MDA, that would be the recommendation of the Planning Commission. But for purposes tonight, this would be for that rezone with the request that the town council look at incorporating it into the MDA, so that could almost be looked at as a package.
Right.
And Alicia, if anybody needed the map, it's on page 3 of that package of the PDF that you've got. Down just a little bit further. Down just a little further. There it is.
Yeah, and Thomas, my understanding is if we make it part of the, if we can make it part of the MDA, then it's conditional. This rezoning is conditional upon the MDA getting accepted by the town council.
That's
And if
correct.
not, it goes back to its original state.
That's correct. So if the MDA passes, and it's part of the MDA, then the rezoning takes place. And if the MDA does not pass, the rezoning would not take place, and this would essentially remain mountain residential.
I have a question.
Certainly.
Since the amphitheater is moved to the commercial area, shouldn't that be removed out of the natural area section in the zoning?
So you're asking, should that particular section where the amphitheater is located be zoned preservation?
If you go back to, can you bring back up with the zoning change? All right, so it has, keep going. So where it said natural area, it included the
Amphitheater
theater in it.
So
And
Rachel, I just want to explain why it's in that area. The zoning for mixed neighborhood use allows amphitheaters, and it may be that the amphitheater may be placed in between the hotel and the commercial. So it just allows us to put the amphitheater in the best place by being in that zoning is the reason we moved it there.
Okay.
Do any other commissioners have any questions in regard to this matter? Okay, there being none, then we'll open this up for public comment at this time. The only thing I ask is that you state your name and address before your question, please. And again, Alicia, I guess you're gonna have to call the shots on this because I'm only on the phone.
No problem. So far, I don't see any hands.
Okay.
Just
We'll
to
give it-
reiterate, sorry, just to reiterate.
Can I ask a question about the amphitheater itself in this development? Ed O'Rourke, soon to take occupancy in Soaring Hawk. So when this development is finished, are there established hours that the community feels the amphitheater will have performances or acts? Has there been any discussion about curfews for noise? Just curious. Might be too much detail to ask,
Mr.
but I'm
O'Rourke,
curious.
that would be in the town code, and as of now, we're only taking questions on the rezoning
Great.
issue.
I'll save my comments for future time.
Thank you, sir. Alicia, are there any other hands up?
I don't see any other hands. If somebody does have a comment, you can raise your hand by doing, I think it's Control Y on your keyboard or *9 on your phone.
Okay, there being no more questions, we'll close the public comment section of this. And does anybody on the commission have a motion they would like to make?
I guess I would move that we vote on a positive recommendation, so long as we incorporate the zoning change and tie them securely together. One fails, the other one fails, and I would leave to Polly to work out the language with the proponent applicants.
Does anybody want to second that?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll take a vote. Glynis,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
and Tony's a yes. Therefore, we'll give that a positive recommendation to the town council
Thank you.
pending Jonathan's language. Okay, I believe there are no other issues before us tonight. I just want to thank Thomas and Jonathan and everybody else who contributed to getting this MDA finally done and in the hands of the town council. And if anybody would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting,
I move we adjourn.
thank
I'll
you.
second.
Okay, we'll take the vote. Glynis,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
and Joel,
Yes.
and Tony's a yes. Thank you all for taking the time to participate tonight, and we'll get to do this all over again in 2 weeks. Everybody have a good night. Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Thanks
Thanks,
all.
everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
I didn't tell you how good you were.